Hello my profane friends, here we go again. This is about the Heraldy and what runs your towns and cities. You know, like the Knights Templars, the Demoles, and I'm going to show you again their army. And here's the start of it. Here's the Demole, look, you see? Now, do you think these people that are standing on these steps have no money? Or do you think they're the rich elite? Of course, they're the rich elite, ain't they? Same as these. Look, you see the women? Do not forget the women. They are Knights Templars also. This is in France, look, yeah? Okay, do you see the women, look? The women are just as prevalent as the men, you see? And these are Masonic lodges, Masonic hotels. Obviously you can see the little pictures down here as well. You see it, look? See the women in the church? You see? And this is how big the army is that you're dealing with within your towns and within your cities. Look. See? Do any of these people here look piss poor or profane? No, they're all Freakmasons. And because they're looking a bit old, that's because they've gone up through the ranks of Freakmasonry. In a minute, I'm going to show you the youngsters, yeah, where they start and then rise up through the ranks. And then everything is just willed down to their clans, to their nation of people. And it just goes on and on and on. That's why you're living abysmal all the time, because nothing's changed in the last 1,000 years. Well, more than that, if you know what you're researching. Okay. Oh, what happened there? So do any of these people look piss poor to you? Or profane? Look, these are all businessmen, multiple businesses, all ploughing their money in to do one thing. Make sure the profane never become rich, never have a business or own anything. We own it, we'll always own it, and that's all that's important to these fat elite. Look at these, look, you know what I mean? Look at the women, they're just as prolific. I'm going to show you in a minute. Look at that army, that's what you're up against. Look, see the army, look, see the old people, look, the old ladies and that, yeah, look, and the young ladies. See, look at that army. What can you do against that? One profane if you use 10 profane people, that army there, that unit, yeah, that's going to rise up and get you. Do you know what I mean? And that's before you get into them. These are Freakmasons, do you know what I mean? But they're Knights Templars, you see? And then you got all, look, they're knighting them, look. You see, look? These are the new initiates. You are now a knight, you know what I mean, amongst the profane. The profane do is what we tell them. Look, see the women and the men, look, you see, in the church again, because they control the pulpits. Look, you see, they own it all. They own your towns. You know, here they are, they're on the march, look. How much money do you think these people have got? They own all them buildings behind them, look. Look at that army marching, look, you see? See their swords, look? Look at them swords. Now, imagine the damage they did with them swords back in the 17 and 1800s or 1600s, yeah? You, the profane, and I'm talking about the UK, what have you got? A kitchen knife? A catapult? You know what I mean? But these have got guns now. But if they can still do the damage with the swords against profane people, and they put their knight's gear on, yeah, their armour, imagine the damage they can do. See what I mean? And this is what you're dealing with. Army units. And like I said, you've got to be careful of the women, because they'll go, come in here, and you'll think you're safe in that house, because there's like 6 women, but they're there with their poison, and they're going to poison you, or they're going to stab you. Do you see what I mean? They're going to betray you, and you think you're safe from women. No, these women that control your towns and your cities, they're going to betray you. Do you know what I mean? Here we go again, look, in the church, look, in the cathedral. See, look. You think these are piss poor? Do you think any of these people are profane? You know, off the council estate? Of course they ain't. Look at the pyramid in the background. You see what I mean? Look. See it? The pyramid. Look. Another Masonic lodge. Or is that the town hall? That's either a town hall or a Masonic lodge. What is it? But they control both anyway, so it doesn't matter. These are knights of... Oh no, these are the great priors. These are in Queensland, look, you see. Oh, there's the pyramid, look. See? They've gone on for centuries. The boards in the background name half the people that go back. You know, this is half the people that have had them powerful positions. And obviously they've got their banners, look. Their war banners to call to arms. I think it's a Masonic lodge because you've got the chairs in the background, look. You see? For the king and the queen of the lodge. You know what I mean? Here we are, look. Again, do you think any of these are piss poor? No, these are businessmen. They own all the businesses. They have all the properties. They're your landlords. You know what I mean? They own it all, mate. You know what I mean? And soon they're going to say who gets a property and who doesn't get a property, because they're buying it all up anyway. They want people renting, because then you're paying them rent, you know. And then they'll pretend, and as the governments pay them their rents, do you know what I mean, over and over and over again for the same piece of land, do you know what I mean, that could be bought outright by anyone or given to anyone, do you know what I mean? No one needs to pay rent. Why do people have to keep paying rent over and over again? You know, same as water, it's all free. They just stolen the land and the property, look, you see. If you go up against these people, you know, all the funny handshakes they've done over the centuries and the decades, look. See the women? I'm going to show you some women in a minute. I mean, here we are in the Masonic Lodge. Look. Oh, these ones are the actual, the Holy Royal Arch, look, you see? Knights Templar priests. Remember, they are priests. Men of God. Look, they're all wearing their bishops, mitres. If you know about the mitre, look in the background. You see the banners, look? See? All the old business owners that run your high streets and your shops. There's the Heraldy, look. You see the candles, look. Oh, the pyramids. You see? Pyramids, circles and squares. That's all what it amounts to in the Masonic Lodge. Here's another one. Look, you see in the background, look. There's Will down the pit. The paintings in the background, look. These are the heroes of past that have passed it to these people. Do you see what I mean? They go back decades, and then you can see the family war banners. You see, and these are the same families that go back centuries. You know, all heraldy, all hereditary, and will down to each person. Here we go, look, priests and Templars. See, they're all the same, there's no change, you know what I mean? And this is what you're dealing with every decade, every century, these parasitic people that deal drugs within your community, that deem fit to see whether you have a home or not. If they don't like your family, they will persecute them and make them perjured individuals, while their families go on and are safe within their hotels. Yeah, but look at this army, look, it's just an army unit. They'll rise up against you. Remember, these are all carrying swords. Well, the guns now, they've got an update. But again, look at the background, look. Where is this building? I mean, where is this building? Obviously, it's a Masonic floor. See what I mean? This is the Order of the Holy Wisdom. There's not a brain cell between them. Again, another Masonic lodge, look. you look at all the lodges they own, yeah, like the Uggle, how much money it costs to keep the upkeep of that, yeah, you know, the food, everything, how much money that generates through its charities alone, yeah, what they skim off the top, yeah, all the charities they're involved, all that money they skim off the top. What do you think they're doing with that? They're paying all their brotherhood, you know what I mean, to keep an eye on you, the profane, and so long as we keep in control of our towns, of our cities. I mean, look at these, look, you see that? All old businessmen, millionaires and billionaires that have stripped towns and cities of their wealth. Look, another Masonic lodge. You see what I mean? So it's not just like, you know, people go, oh, there's a Masonic lodge. There's 3 Freemasons in there, and they just think of like Master Masons, you know, in the 3 levels, but there's hundreds and thousands of these people within your towns and cities that's willed down with funny little handshakes. I mean, look at that army unit there. Look. Notice the women. Remember, the women are just as prevalent. She's more than likely the Lord Mayor. Look, and there's one behind as well. But can you see them? Look, these are the wealthy of your towns and cities. These are the people that you have to go up against. Oh, he's a different knight. Look, he's got a green. See the green? Look, you see his green cross. Look, you see. They're different colours. I think the green is, you know, like you get a green and white tile floor. You know, same as you get the black and white. Yeah, there's black and white lodges. There's red and white lodges. There's green and white lodges. There's tan and white lodges. You see what I mean? They've got every colour you can think of. They've got the colour for that particular lodge, because it's not just about, you know, it's colours, sounds, noise, you know, everything. You touch, feel. It's all to do with Freemasonry. You know, so it's not just about black and white tiled floors. Yeah, there's green and white, there's red and white. Do you see what I mean? So, you know, you keep an eye out for it and you'll see it. Again, look at the women amongst the order. See the women, look? These are your elite, you know, these go back in the days. These are the ones that come round and nick your chickens, bashed you off the land, tax you. Well, they still tax you, and you still pay. Look, see them, look? They believe all this shit, you know what I mean? They think they're gods above you, you know what I mean? Look at that, look at the women, look. You know they're all noncy. Look, you see, look at the Knights Templar. Look at what he's wearing under there. He's wearing a chainmail shirt. Look, yeah. And if you've been up against the Knights, which I shoe a couple of weeks ago, they're impregnable. You know what I mean? So if you're a peasant, there's no way you're getting it through that armour. But there you go. That's Joan of Arc there with the short hair. But there we go. Look at these women that amongst their ranks. You know what I mean? And that's what you're dealing with. They believe this shit. You know what I mean? And you better believe it and all. See the symbolism in the background? Look, they own these buildings. Look, you see it? Look. See the symbolism? See the circles? Look. See? And the diamonds. And here we go. Look, with the rich elite. Look. You see? Look at that woman. Look at the man with the sword. Look. Imagine him coming at you after your donuts. You know what I mean? These are England and Wales, these ones. Ooh. Now look, Templar rule. Wait a minute. Look, historical fact of women in the Templar order, you see. Now pause that and then you can read that at your leisure. The second part to that is this. See, they're sisters, and they're not just sisters, they're called dames, I think, D-A-M. Sisters and dames, I'm sure. Oh, godfathers or godmothers as well. I thought it was dames. I'm sure it was dames. Maybe it weren't. But anyway, you can pause that and read that at your own leisure. And then we've got this here. Oops, sorry. Look. Restored Templar order. Women also have equally opportunity to serve in high-level governmental positions as crown officers. This is a powerful way to exemplify female leadership in the spiritual of Saint Joan of Arc in the historic tradition of St Mary Magdalene. You see what I mean? And this is what it's about. See, they're your government, they're your police. Do you know what I mean? And they work that system. Just because you see, like I said, they don't wear this garb. It's all underneath their police uniforms. It's underneath their suits. Do you know what I mean? But these are all your government officials. Do you see what I mean? You know, like I said, the women are just as prevalent as the men. The Order of the Alchemists, the Knights of Malta, and Gagalistro. But again, alchemists, wizards and warlocks, that's what they are. Yeah, again, well, these ones, I don't know who these ones are, but again, as you can see, look, he's at the altar. You know, he's a bit noncy, but look at the women in the background. That's the important thing. You see the women, look, see. Here we go, look, you see. Do you think these people are peasants? No, these are your parasites, and they're well protected by the criminal fraternity. Yeah, and they pay the criminal fraternity well to look after them and protect their best interests. Do you know what I mean? Look, do you think these are living on the streets? Do you think they're going hand to hand wanting food or paying their rent? No. These are the elites. And then again, here we go, look. These are the Order of the Malta, but this is your youngsters, look. You see how they recruit them, look? You see, look? See, they start them off young. These would be the children of these people. See it, look? There's the nurse, look. You see the cross on her shoulder, look? The nurse. See, and they start them off young in their own schools. By the way, look at the symbolism. You see it, look? 3, 3, 3, 3. Little peasants. See, look? 3, 3, 3. But this is how they recruit them young. But did you notice the women there? Look, you see the women? Yeah. Obviously, you got them here. Look, there's your old priest. Look, he's more than likely nonced half of them. You know what I mean? Here they are, look. That's your army, look. See, they're all wearing berets. They're just not wet. So, you know, if anything ever break out, they're going to give them all a gun like they did in Germany. See, oh, what have I done? I don't know what I've done there. Like in Germany, when war broke out and the Germans got desperate, what did they do? They give all the children guns and said, you're fighting on the front lines. And that's why they recruit and have their own schools for children, so they can have these children fight their wars if need be. While these are safe in their bunkers, of course. But there's the women in the background, you see, all Knights Templars, same as the men, just as prevalent, just as dangerous. Yeah, trained up. Yeah, oh yeah, I've got a picture of many. But look at all that. Look at that army. Look, that's the next army, and that's what they're going to be like soon. Yeah, they'll be the adults. But all the wealth is handed down to all these boys and girls. Do you see what I mean? They already got their badges. Oh, sorry. Look at the badges, look, you see? They are well done. How many badges can you collect? You know, and they do the Cubs and the Scouts. Look, you see the armbands, look at the armbands. But this is what happens when war breaks out. These are the ones that are going to fight. Same as this one, look. This is in Ireland. See, look. Recruit them young. You know what I mean? Mould their little minds. Obviously, you can see the plaques in the background, look, from the previous people from the before. And again, you can see them again, look. See, in the church, look. You see, it's always the churches, always the adults, look, grooming the children. You see, the adults. Sorry, the picture's blurry, but obviously it's not a good picture, but you can go do the research yourself. But again, it's adults grooming the children. I mean, look at him, look. Would you trust him? Look, his eyes are shifty. You know what I mean? But look at the heraldy, look. That's the heraldy of it, you see? The families, you know. But would you trust him? And there's his king's crown, look. And what's he got in front of that? A dagger or a sword. Do you see what I mean? They're there ready to protect themselves from profane people. You know, they're not going to allow you to take their businesses that are up the high street, you know, or anything else. You know, you're not going to take their houses or anything. They've spent years and decades murdering their way to the top of the pyramids. You know what I mean? Look at these in the cathedral. Look. Do you think any of these are ever going to go to war? If a war breaks out, do you think any of these? No, they're going to run to their bunkers that they've been building for the last century or decades. All them hidden bunkers during the war that were built, and all the tunnels that were built during the war just in the UK, I'll talk about. You know, where are they? No one knows, but the Freemasons do, and that's where they'll head. These people like this, these parasites, they've all got a ticket to these tunnels. Do you know what I mean? Because the profane will fight amongst themselves. Do you know what I mean? Protecting these very parasites that live within our towns and cities. This is New York. Look, you see, it's you know, they're across the globe. They've do. Yeah, here they are. Look, with the Pope. Look, you see, not the Pope, the old bishop. He's more than likely bashed her many times as she grew up. You know what I mean? But there you go. Look. You see what I mean? And this is the thing you're dealing with. Oh, there's the Pope himself, look. I believe. Let's have a look. Oh, yeah, there's the Pope himself with him, look. Oh, and there's that Nancy geezer there, look, you see? But look at this. Look at the women. The women are just as prevalent as the men. Remember that, look. But here's your army, look. And they're going to protect this man here, regardless of what he does, like everything else. And these are what run your town, you know. These are the elites. And again, how much money and wealth is in that building? While you've got people that are homeless, starving, have no homes. All of these have got homes. They've all got houses. All their children are safe for the future. You know what I mean? Again, here's the Masonic army. Look. Don't forget, these are just Freemasons at the highest order. Look at that army. Look. See, look. See their banners? It's just an army. Look at that, look at the size of that army. Like I said, they're hiding behind suits, police uniforms, social services, whatever they need. And like I said, the perks of the job is when you do go for your bloods, yeah, and they want a particular blood, they know where that blood is anyway. Do you see what I mean? They go, oh, we've got a kidney here for you. And then that person who's profane will have an accident, and then they'll use that kidney, because you don't know what they take out of the body. All you see is the body in the coffin. They control everything. So if they take the kidneys or the heart or anything, you won't know, because the body's dressed. Do you see what I mean? And then that heart or that kidney get and if you know about the blood bikes, you know, who deliver the blood, or you know, because they do a lot of charity for them blood bikes, you know, and all of that malarkey. If you know the Freemason symbols on them, that's where they're running the body parts to these people who need, you know, if one of their family members, their children or anything needs something, then that's where they're going to get it from. Do you see what I mean? That's why they want your blood. They go, oh, be a blood donor. You know what I mean? Because then they can check everyone's blood. They know who matches to who and who matches to what. Do you see what I mean? So if they need anything, they know where to go to get it. And that's just part of the perks. Do you know what I mean? Of these people, like I said, they've got underground tunnels and all the best of the best. These people, look at them. Look, you see what I mean? You think anyone's piss poor there, struggling on benefits? Of course not. You know what I mean? They only recruit the elite. Look, there they are. These are the Knights Templar. Look, uniforms, brick masons. And as you can see, it's the black and white tile floor. But again, yeah, they are. Do you think anyone there is struggling to pay their bills? Do you think anyone's coming to collect their cars? No, of course not. Because they are the friggin' bailiffs. You know what I mean? Look. This is what you're dealing with, men like this. Do you think any of these parasites, look, would ever go to war to shoot a gun? Of course not. They ain't going to do anything. You know what I mean? Look. See? Ain't going to do anything. They're going to get you to do it and your children. Here we go, look. Here you go, another different army. But see the banners in the background, look, you see? Notice the windows are all like 666, look, you see? Consistent little buggers, but look, see? Just knights, look, see? They're Teutonic knights, by the way, just in case no one knew. But look, imagine them on horses, because they've all got a horse, they've all got a sword. How many profane people are going to stand up to them? Not happening, is it? Yeah, look at that. Look at that mark. Look at that. Look at that. That's just Hitler marching there. Do you know what I mean? And I'll show you that again in a minute. How these all connect. Yeah, look at these. Look at the army. Look behind him. Look. See? Again, look at the Masonic symbolism. See the buildings? All owned by these people. See? All owned. See the pyramids? Look? All owned by these people like this. Millionaires. That walk amongst you that you don't even know. Where's that gone? Come here, you. Again, look, the black and white tile floor in the cathedral. And there they are, look, they filled the cathedral. You go to church on a Sunday, you'll see it empty. But these buggers, they'll fill it up, look. You know what I mean? Because there's no profane people there. If you try walking in on one of their meetings, you'll get kicked out. Oh, look at that, look. Yeah, now you go to any church service and you tell me if the profane ever fill a church service like that. There's the bishop, he's bashed him many a time. But the privileges they get, look, you see the banners, look, the family heraldy, see, look, they run it all. They decide what goes on and what don't go on. Look at that army. That's the people that are going to rise up. Now, these used to wear brown coats back in the day in Germany, you know what I mean, in Berlin. And when they rose up, they conquered half of Europe. They've already done that. They've done it by hiding their aprons. Do you see what I mean? Taking over the uniforms, taking over the government officials. Well, it's been thousands of years just willing it down. There's no threat to these people. You know what I mean? Because they train you, so thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that. You know what I mean? And generally, profane people don't, because they're good people. These people ain't. Look at that army on the march, look. I'm going to show you in a minute. Remember these marching here like this, okay? And I'll show you something similar. Look, you see it, look? Who owns that in the background? See the all-seeing eye, look, in the pyramid? It's just Rome, mate. Look at the dome, look, you see? Just Rome. See, look at that army. Here coming up. Oh, look. Imagine that lot rising up against you. How are you going to do with your family? You know what I mean? Remember, this is just the men. You know, you didn't put the women in amongst this. You haven't put the Masons. You know, do you see what I mean? You didn't put the Demolays in amongst them. Do you see what I mean? How big this and how vast this army is. Oh, this is in Scotland. This one, look, Templars today in Scotland. So that's Scotland. I've just shown you 3 or 4 different land masses with these people, and look at the size of the army. Yeah, look at that, Scott. Another cathedral been filled by Masonic knights, look, from Scotland. Don't forget the women. Don't forget the women. See all the women, look? Look at all them women, look, you see? They'll work against you as well. They'll go, come here. So when they're not wearing this garb, yeah, and they turn up, because these are policemen, these are like bailiffs, these are like all the court officials, judges. So who do you think they're going to give preference to? You, a profane person, or to a brother knight, you know, whose chivalry knows no bounds within the community, eh? And then you get a woman judge, or a women's social service, or a woman policeman, and then you go, oh, that's okay. They can't be a Freemason. Do you see what I mean? That's how they trick you. Look at that army. How vast is that army within that church? And we've got another one here, look. See, look? You go to a Sunday service, Catholic Templars. You know what I mean? You go to a Sunday service and see if you fill a church up like that. Look at that. Look at that army. Sorry the pictures are blurry, but you can do a search yourself for it, can't you? See the women, look? Again. All standing in their position because they're an army. See it, look, in the church again, blaspheming. Look at that army unit on the march, look. See? Come on, all ye faithful. Go right at the door, look. See? Filling the cathedral. And what they'll do, they'll say, quick, come to the church, come to the cathedral. And all you profane will run there and trust them, because they won't be wearing this garb, of course. They'll be up in the belfries and all that with the machine guns. And when you get into the church, that's where they shoot you and betray you, like they have many, many other people in the past. You know what I mean? Because they hide their true uniform. You know what I mean? They will dress like you, they will look like you, they will act like you, they will be like you, but they ain't. You know what I mean? But these are the people that organise marches, you know, and they'll march amongst you, you know what I mean, and look like you and act like you. But trust me, they're picking you out, they're isolating you, and they're fucking screwing you right over, so you can't have a word in anything, so no one listens to anyone. And there they are, look, there's a nice army unit there, look, in the cathedral by the look of things. That's in the priory. Is that Bomber Fett in the background, look? But again, look at the women, look. Is that Trump there, isn't it? Ain't bloody Trump, surely. I look like Donald Trump, don't I? Sovereign and Autonomous Knight Templar Order of Malta. That ain't bloody Trump, is it? It look like Trump there. Maybe it is, I don't know. But look at them laughing. Look, you see the women, look? You see the women and the men, they're just as prevalent. Oh, damn it. I hope it was that one. Right, let's have a look. Yeah, that was the one. Again, look, here they come, look, marching through your streets. Look at them. See, look. You think these are piss poor? Got no money? There's your bishop. See, look. These are the parasites that run your town. Look. You know what I mean? Parasitic people that run all the businesses, control everything to do within towns and cities. Look. And these are going to be, they've got tunnels and everything to get out of your way. See the floor? Look at the floor. Look. Pure Masonic. See what I mean? These are the people you're fighting and you don't even know it. Look at the bishop in the background. Oh, baby, you see? He's wearing the uniform, but what is he? What is he? You know what I mean? Is he the Lord Mayor? Is he a politician? You don't know what they are, do you? And this is how they get away with it all the time. Look at all these old men. See? Now, if, for instance, there's a young man, yeah, just a profane young man going this, that and the other, and then you've got this old man here who's a politician or a police chief or something like that, people are going to follow these old men. You know what I mean? Thinking, you know, they don't even think they're on an agenda or that they might be a Knights Templar or a Freemason or anything else. Do you see what I mean? And that's the thing. This is how they trick you over and over and over again. But these are all on the agenda. It doesn't matter what generation of people. They're from tribes. You know what I mean? They've done their funny handshakes over the years. You helped us with this battle. You helped this family and we'll help you. And like I said in my other videos, as I've shown you, the shields. Yeah, this is what you're dealing with, people like that. And then this is what they defend and protect, these pervs like this. You know what I mean? In the Vatican. See, look, all that money. They're the wealthy. Or do you think a profane person is shaking the Pope's hand? Of course it ain't. These are the wealthy, man. The wealthy. You're not invited. Look at that. See, women and the men of society that are within every town and city. Look at this. Look at the symbolism in the background. See it? Look, 232 squares. Look. Pyramids and circles and points within circles. Look, you see? You see it? And you see the blue circles. Can you notice the 232 within the little 232? Look, you see? 232. See? It's crazy, isn't it? How they get away with it. Pure Luciferian. But there you go. That's the army you're dealing with. Watch this in a minute. I'm going to show you something in a minute. I'll knock you a bandy, you know what I mean? So there you go, look. Look at the women, prolivolent just as much as the men, like I said. And these women here, you know, this old lady here, look at this old lady. Say she go, come in here, and you'll trust her. And she go, sit down, I'll protect you, hide in here. And then you'll be hiding. You'll think you're protected. No, she's on the phone going, he's here, come and get him. Or she'll poison you and kill you. You know what I mean? Because you're profane. You know what I mean? Because she'll give you a secret hand sign, and then if you don't respond, she knows you're against her. You know what I mean? And they've done this in all wars. You know what I mean? So she'll kill you or assassinate you, do you know what I mean? Or grass you up. And this is the thing, when you're in war with these people, they're all on the same side. I don't care what continent you're on, and I've just shown you that they can be on all the continents, which they are. All Freemasons work together against the profane, and all they're doing when you fight is manipulate you. You know, they're wearing the same uniform as you, but they wear their aprons underneath that uniform. You see what I mean? That's what you've got to get through your head. You see what I mean? It's like when you see Tommy Robinson, yeah, and people are marching with him, but he's wearing a Masonic apron. Do you know what I mean? And there's people amongst you that are wearing Masonic aprons, and they're just leading you all around the garden path, and you think someone's doing something. Oh, Tommy Robinson's doing something, so I didn't have to do anything. Do you see what I mean? Oh, Trump's doing something, so I didn't have to do anything. He's cleaning the swamp. No one's cleaning the swamp because the people in charge won't allow it. Do you know what I mean? They control the narrative on everyone, and all they do is just run rings around the profane because they know exactly what they're doing and they're working on an agenda. You know, you show me any profane person that's going to get a group of people just like this together. They've got all the money anyway. Like I said, they control the gangs, you know, and that's what they're using. That, you know, drug lords and all of that, they use them, you know, and they quiet and shush people up left, right and centre. That's what they're all about. Look. You think these are piss poor, struggling for money, can't pay the rent and all of that? No, look at him, look. He's right in there. What is he? Is he a bishop? Look, Sovereign Military Order of Malta, see? Military. You know what I mean? Yeah, look, Knights of Malta Institute in Washington, D.C., see? So once again, we've got them. They're in Washington, D.C., so we've had them in Britain. Do you see what I mean? They're across there. So if you think he's got a loyalty to a profane person, or do you think he's got loyalty to another Knights Templar? He's got loyalty to another Knights Templar, same as the Freemasons. You know what I mean? He's higher than the Freemasons, of course, and they'll follow his suit and does what he's saying, because these are the people that are paying that in oil and corn and water. You know what I mean? And that's what they're protecting, these perverts. Do you know what I mean? In power. Look at the bishop with his hand signs, look. Oh, baby. I'm sure there was other things I was going to point out in here and I forgot, but I guess because I'm rushing through it. But at the end of the day, it just shows you how massive their army is. I mean, look at these lot, look. Do you think that's not a witch belonging to a coven? Look at her medals. What'd you get them for? So, I mean, what sort of medals can you earn in this day and age? But do they all look like witches? Look. They're witches. Do you see what I mean? Look. See? Just modern day witches. Look how far back that women's army go, look. Do you see what I mean? This is what I'm saying. See? They're witches, look. You see? Do they look like, you know, do they look like normal people? You know, let's be honest about it. Look. Look at that army. I was showing that picture. But like I said, the women are just as prolivolent as the men. So be careful, you know, look at these. What secrets do these women take, you know, or what sort of secrets do these women hold, you know, with these men? Look, do these look like friggin' like they're ever going to help the profane people, you know, the poor? Now, these are Knights Templar, right, from the Nazi regime, yeah, from Hitler. See, nothing's changed. They're all the same. That's what I mean. But they go to war. You know, like I said, you know, that's like, you know, like gypsies battle with each other. Do you know what I mean? But they're all the same. If they get together, they always battle the profane or the goyim or whatever. You know what I mean? They always battle them and they stick together. So if you've got a gypsy that's a Knights Templar and a Freemason, yeah, what's more dangerous? Do you see what I mean? What is his loyalty to? Do you see what I mean? But again, it depends on the fucking funny handshake. You know, we own the land, we own the businesses. If you don't do this, we'll do that. Do you see what I mean? That's what it all boils down to. Again, the blackmail. But that's another story anyway, before I get into that. But these are the Hitler Knights Templars, look, you see? See him, look? See him marching, look? Where have we just seen it? We've just seen that in modern times. Look, they're marching, look, you see? Again, look at the sign. I've shown you what in the other picture what the Nazi sign is, but do you see it? Look, the square, the circle. Do you see what I mean? The square, the circle. And I won't go into the points of it, but that's what you're dealing with. Look, Knights Templars, which were Nazis. Look, here's is Hitler himself, look, as a Knights Templar. You see, because he was a Freemason. He was just another faction where they were warring together. He didn't persecute the Freemasons. He was just persecuting his enemy, which were other Freemasons that didn't want to become on his side. You know, and then if you look up in the corner here, actually, let's look on his sword, look. What's that on his sword, that rune? Right on the, see what I mean? And then what we got in the background, look. King Solomon's Temple, you see? And then you got the Dome of Rome. You see what I mean? It's all, you know, it's all there, isn't it? You know, I won't go too much into it. Ooh. But you get the idea, my profane friends. Again, look, Hitler, yeah, Germany. See the Knights Templars, look, on their horses. See? Freemasons. See? Masonic Freemasons. See? And like I said, during the war, which I'll show you in a minute, they used their own symbolisms. Look, the American Nazis, nearly 1,000 uniformed men wearing swastika armbands and carrying Nazi banners, paraded past a reviewing stand in New Jersey, July 18th, 1937, which obviously is America. In the 30s, America would have sent their children to the Nazi summer camps and pack out Madison Square Gardens for Nazi rallies. You see, this is America. You see, they all work together. There's no, you know, I'll show you in a minute some, shh, keep it quiet because you're not supposed to know some of this. But again, you see the circle that with the swastika in the point in the middle, that squares, circles. But these are Nazis in America, look, you see. They all get on, look, you see. Now here, you know, I've just shown you the Knights Templar marching. And here they come, look. Knights Templars marching. These are Freemasons marching, you know, but it's Hitler's army. Same thing. Nothing's changed, look. See? I've just shown you them in modern times. Now they're doing it again, look, you see? Again, here, what do we see, look? You see the heraldry in the background on the banners. You got the German Knights, and then you've got the Nazi right there, look, because they're the Knights Templars. You see what I mean? And you got the banner again, look, the family banner. See, and that's what you're dealing with. You know, you're dealing with heraldry. You know, these families go back centuries and decades, and they fight each other. And when they fight, it's the profane that do the fighting for them. But you know, and there we go. Look. By that manipulation again. Look at the see the square and the calm piss, look, you see? Can't help themselves with the symbolism, but look at the army, look. All these old men, because they've been in the game so long, you know, they were in Demole and now they've come up through the ranks. And of course you can see some of the soldiers that they control. But what are these? Are these, you know, is he a field marshal? Is he a general? Is he a policeman? Is he a police chief? Is he a high court official? A judge? Do you see what I mean? What are these people? Do you see what I mean? This is what you're dealing with. And they work together to keep you piss poor. Again, look, Knights Templar, the Germans on the march, look. See? The Knights Templars, you see? Hitler Knights, you see? See the circle, the square, and the pyramid, look. The pyramid is in each corner. The four corners, yeah, which I'll show you all the time anyway. So you got your foot. Now, by that I mean, right, here we go. I've got to go into my favourite, you know what I mean, my profane friends. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, baby. Right, Oh no, this way, wait a minute, sorry. Right, and I'll do it in black. Right, so you've got your pyramid here, right? That's your pyramid, and there's your capstone. Yeah, that's your capstone there, right? Pyramid, and then your capstone. See what I mean? So that's what they are. See, pyramid's capstone. Yeah. Right, let me come out of that. How do I do that? Discard. But that's what that is. That's the 4 pyramids, yeah, with the capstone. Then obviously you got your circle, and you obviously you know that the swastika itself is 9 steps in Freemasonry. Okay, and I won't go too much more into it, but you know it through my videos what I've shown you. But the point of the matter is that these Knights Templar here, yeah, are just the same as the ones in Europe, Scotland, and everywhere else I've just shown you today. You see what I mean? You know, nothing's changed. You're dealing with the same people. Yeah, look, the Third Reich, German, 1930, Hitler Youth. You see, and they use the boyslet, and they come up. You see, believe in all their crap, and that is in 1934. Seek Heil. That's what he's saying. That you see, and he slayed a dragon, which was a profane dragon. See, again, look, this is, I forget this one. Oh, but again, it's a German, a German Knight Templar. Oh, it's not happening. But see in the pyramid, look, the 3 points in the pyramid. You got a point within I can't get it bigger. That's not having it. Anyway, it's German, isn't it? But notice, look, you got 3 arrows here. On top of the arrows, yeah, if you turn it up the other way, you've actually got 3 obelisks, yeah, and it's 3 columns with 3 pyramids, you see. And then again, where it says F in front, you got the circle. You see what I mean? Let's go a bit more. Again, sorry, here you've got 3 columns, yeah, again 3 obelisks with 3 Nazi flags, yeah. And remember, the Nazi flags, like I said, are 666, so that's 666 3 times. You see what I mean? So why is it 3? You see what I mean? It's always 3. Remember that, my profane friends. Again, look, another German Knights Templar. You see, and that's all what fights all the time. You know what I mean? And they get the profane to fight. You know, look, another Knights Templar. See, and here we go again. Look. Hitler Knights on horses. See? Circles, squares, and pyramids. How wonderful can it be? And there's your knights on horseback, look. You see? Because that's all it is. You know, it's just knights, you know, and they've fought these wars over and over again. Here they are on the march, look. You see? It's wonderful, look. You see? And you can find that in today's, you know, here they are again, look, the Knights Templar. See the circle, look? The square, the circle, and the pyramids, but with the sun hieroglyph in the background. See? Hitler Knights. Armoured Knights. You see? Because they're carrying their swords, look. You see the swords, look? See? And they still carry them today. But if you, the profane, carry one, you'll be arrested. Remember that. So don't carry any swords. You'll be alright with your kitchen knife. Again, look. You see? Nazis on the round table. You see what I mean? Again, look. You see the point within the square, look? You see it? And the point within the circle. You see what I mean? It's the 9 points, my profane friends. They know exactly what they do. Their symbolism knows no bounds, mate. I'm telling you. Again, another knight on the round table, look, you see? Oh yeah, they're well armed. Again, look, there's the profane where he's tromped on him, like they have done over the centuries and their decades. Again, look, here we see, obviously that's the square, look, and we've got the 3 Nazi, what's his name? Here you've got it with the fleur de pisse, do you see what I mean? You see, but the fleur de pisse, because it's square, it makes it 4 square, which I'll show you now. How do I do that again? Like that. and I'll do it in black, which is okay, because it's 4 square, look, see, the square, yeah, and then these, when you mark it up, makes it 4 square, you see, 4 square. So what is 4 square? 666. So if I go like this, because that's what I've just shown you, yeah, like that, there's your first square and calm piss, you see what I mean? Then if I do this, which is this again, like that, there's your second square and calm piss. 3, 4, 4 square and compass, which makes 666, you see what I mean? But there's your fleur de pis, yeah, which is everywhere within your churches, you know, I've shown you enough, it's on your gates and everywhere else over the whole of the UK, yeah, so you got the UK covered in this, and you got the I can't, if I keep saying swastika or bloody whatever, I bloody duff up my videos, but so that's that, okay, so there it is, the order of the new Templars. Okay, now here we go, here, look, 150,000, I'm not going to say it because again it flags me, so I'll let you read it, yeah. Resettled in Palestine, yeah, and then it gives you an idea, but here they are, look, see, again, rich, elite people, yeah, notice the black and white tile floor in the background, well, in the mirror, I think it's a mirror, but again, see it, look, the circles, the squares and the pyramids, well-to-do, and there they are, look, you see. And here we are, German Templars in Palestine, look, you see. See, these are German Templars in Palestine. See the well-to-do, look. They've got the money because look at the hats and the way they dress. See, that's the wealth. See, only the wealthy make decisions within towns and cities. See, look at the way they're dressed, okay? And that's what it's all about, my profane friends. Wait there, I don't know if I've got a picture of that. But again, can you see these Templars here? Look, this is what they are. They're little families, yeah? And can you see it in the background? Look, you see the all seeing eye in the pyramid, look? And then how many windows you got up front? Look, 1, 2, 3, with the Masonic arches, blah, blah, blah. And I can go on and on and on, but you know the symbolism yourself. Same as here, look. See the all seeing eye, look? You see the world domination balls, look, on each side. You see what I mean? Consistent little buggers, aren't they? But I can't read what it is, but again, it's Palestine, I think, yeah. And the Knights Templars. See? Oh yeah, you need to hear this. Listen.
The most important enemy, the Bush regime was front for the Vatican. The most important enemy this country has today. People will never understand it, but the biggest enemy that this nation today has is the Vatican. What do you think the founding fathers, whatever we call them, the founding fathers, where did they come from? The people who founded this country, they came from Europe. Well, for 2,500 years, Rome, under the Caesars of Rome, and then after the fall, we call them the founding.
He's gone a bit too quick for me. Now, did you see the Knights Templars? Yeah. There's the Knights Templars, look. You see, there's the Knights Templars, okay? And then you'll see the Fleur de Pis, and you'll see the Heraldy, yeah? But listen to what he says, yeah? You'll see the Fleur de Pis, the Heraldy on the shields, and that's what you're dealing with.
You think the founding fathers, whatever we call them, the founding fathers, where did they come from? The people who founded this country, they came from Europe. Well, for 2,500 years, Rome, under the Caesars of Rome, and then after the fall of the Caesars in the 4th century, and with the coming of the Vatican in the 5th century, all of Europe has been dominated for over 2,500 years by Rome. And Europe has dominated the world. for 2,500 years. You better start looking at the Holy Father, and you better start finding out the connection between the Vatican and the Nazi Party of Adolf Hitler.
See? Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. And this is what it's all about. You know, once you start researching into these little buggers, you'll soon find the connections. You know, I've already connected it. Just go look at my Masonic Increasing Armies, yeah? Yeah, it is Masonic Increasing Armies, yeah. Yeah, just go watch my Masonic Increasing Army videos and you'll see. What's this here? This is what's been shushed up within our towns and cities. How Jill Dando got assassinated for exposing the perverts, you know what I mean, and the paedophiles. That, again, I'll just put my soup away in my fridge. But again, you know, when you expose something and they don't want people to be, you know, and they're sick and tired of you, all they do is assassinate you and kill you, and the people who kill you will be the criminals. Do you know what I mean? You know, your drug lords and the ones that are controlling your towns and cities. You know what I mean? But they hide it, like I said, they hide it very well, you know, and they manipulate, you know, the criminal empire that is within your towns and cities, because they are the criminal empire. Anyway, that's another, you know, that's another story. Freemasons, oh yeah, linked to Freakmasonry, of course they are. Now again, here's the Heraldy, look, and this is Germany again, and it's the Knights Templar, yeah, they're Heraldy. Yeah, see, look, Black Eagle, I think it's the eagle, isn't it? Or is it the Phoenix? I can't remember now. But again, Germany, yeah. Again, look, this is, look, oh dear, look. You see, Croatian coat of arms slips from frame and reveals images of Hitler. You see? But again, you see the red and white tiled floor, look, you see? And then what is it? It's 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. You see what I mean? 3, 2, 3. Or is it 2, 3, 2? So you can see the Masonic symbolism, but basically because it's 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, it's 6, 6, 6. But you can see the heraldry of it, the sheep and the pyramids. Look, there's 5 pyramids. You got your star, you got your moon, your half moon. It's all heraldry, and they just cover it up. Like I said, that basically, yeah, is a Freemason wearing a Masonic apron, but he's hid it. Do you see what I mean? And it's the same thing what they do. Again, here's your knights, look. Yeah, 3. Notice the 3, look. 3 and 3. You know what I mean, my profane friends? But again, this is the Hitler, look. You see the square, look? See? And there it is. There's the heraldry. Oh, come here, you. There's the heraldry of it, look. You see? And again, it's circles, squares, and obviously he's doing the sign of a Freemason. But again, it's knights. Again, look, White Boy Club, Dynamo Cui. But again, it's Germany, and you got the Acacia, look, and you got the diamond, obviously, which makes the square and the calm piss. You know, don't you ever forget that. The diamond makes the square and calm piss. Let me show you. I'll change it to red. This is what a diamond means, yeah? So when you see a diamond, you better believe it's a square and calm piss. You know what I mean, my profane friends? So be warned. Oop. Discard. Again, this is a coat of arms of Coburg before and during the Nazi era. Do you see what I mean? It's a coat of arms, you see, and this is what you're dealing with. Coats of arms, heraldry, and families that go back centuries and decades that have controlled everywhere. The Nazi girls at peace in Britain. See? And again, went there. Oh, I'll let you read it. You can read that. Just pause it and read it at your leisure. Again, you'll see Hitler representative at the Vatican. You see, it's all connected. They're always all best of friends, best of buddies, and all they keep doing is acting all these plays and making all this shit up that means absolutely nothing to no one. Do you know what I mean? But they're just acting this stuff out, and we play in their roles, you know. Again, I'll just put that there. You can read that at your leisure. Indeed, so convinced am I of peace for years to come that I have just taken over another big establishment. And there you go. But again, here it is, that Nazi atrocities on British islands, yeah? But again, you see the flag. Young Nazis, how I uncovered the close ties between British private schools, private, because again, the private schools are run by the Heraldy, you know, the lords, the dukes and the earls, yeah, and Hitler's Germany, you see. Pupils from a German Napoleon of Buns before football game with a visiting side from an English public school. You see the public schools, yeah. You see it, look, the banners, look, you see, look. The banner and the banner, because they get on so well, you know what I mean? And this is what it's all about, but they don't want to tell you all this, you know what I mean? You know, again, look, there's the British flag with the German flag. See the pyramid with the circle in it, look, that's Masonic, and it's 4 square, look. Wait there, let me get my finger, I've got to show you. I've shown it before, but I'll just show it again how that is 4 square. Yeah, I'll do it in red. Right, so these, right, when you line them up, oh, that's a bit big, and then bring it down a bit. So when you line these up, if you ever see one of these like this, yeah, this makes the square, yeah, that makes the square, because you square it off, and then obviously that's your circle within a circle. Do you see what I mean? But because also, oh, this is the square, yeah, these parts, yeah, that's the square. These also make like that. When you line them up, sorry, that one's out a bit of woof, like that. When you line it up, you then get your 4 square again. You see what I mean? And that's what makes it 666, because that, my profane friend, as you can see, look, I've already just done the first piece. Okay, so if that was squared off, look, which would be, that's what would give you your square and calm piss, you see, and then you get 4 of them, of course, you know what I mean? You get the 4 square and compass, but that's what that is. But as you can see, oh, discard, but as you can see, you've got the British flag, the German flag, because they're all friends. You know, they're all best of friends, there ain't no enemies, do you know what I mean? They work together. You know, look, pre-war Nazi girls' school on a UK in school. So see what I mean? Look, I can't keep saying that word, but again, it's the flags. Look, you see them together. Look, you see, Bexhill-on-Sea, Augustus Victoria College, but that's what I'm saying. They're all friends. They all get on, yeah, because that's the heraldry, and the families get on, yeah. The banners is what keeps them together. You see what I mean? And that's what it's all about, you know. Again, notice 3 flags to the left, 3 flags to the right, so that's your 6, or is that your 33 degrees? But notice the 5 heraldies, yeah. There's your major family, the German major family, and then he'll call to arms, come and help me, I'm being beat up, I need my family protected. So he'll call these 2 families in, and these 2 families in, which are British. Again, you can see the blue and white tile floor, because like I said, it's not just about black and white or red and white. There's blue and white, there's tan and white, there's all sorts of colours of the rainbow that are used in Masonic flooring, okay. But these are the family heraldies, you see, and they look after each other. Ooh. Again, this is 4 square, because again, that's what you're seeing there. Look, you see what it is. Let me do it again. Oh, get out of it again. Obviously, it's done at 4s anyway. Look, see, that's the 4 square, you see, because you square that cross off, yeah. When you square that cross off, there's your circle. You see what I mean? So it's a circle again within a square, you see what I mean? And then your 4 pyramids are here, look. These are your 4 pyramids. You see what I mean? And that's what it is all the time, your 4 pyramids. Obviously, then you've got the 4 here, look, which is this here, which is capstone, you see? That's your capstone on the pyramid, you see? Like that. Ooh, let me go back a bit. But that's what it is. It's always the same. There's nothing changed, you know what I mean? So from the point slit, you see, like this. Sorry if it's a bit bad. And then you put that across there. That's your capstone, you see? So you get your 4 pyramids, you see? But again, as you can see, it's German, Knights Templar. Discard. I'm sure I'm missing stuff, you know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. Again, look, Germany at the bottom, look. You see, Germans. Okay. And you've got the families, yeah. I can't read that, yeah. But it's in Berlin, look. But again, remember where he started from, the Berlin. This is more likely the 7 families that helped him destroy Europe, and each family that came into that, you know, like when they invaded a town, they go, right, are you helping us or are you helping them? You know, some they instantly got hold of, yeah, because they knew they'd be on their side instantly anyway, because of the history of it, and he knew that anyway. These people know it, they know all the history of it, who's protected who will betray him, who can they trust, who can't they trust. So as they went in each town or city, they just rounded them particular families up and then sent them to the camps, do you know what I mean? Because they knew they could all shoot them or whatever, blah blah blah. So, you know, but the Freemasons go, oh, we were persecuted. No, you weren't persecuted, you were just other families that were associated with other families that were against Hitler's families, you know what I mean? And that's what it is, that's what it boils down to, the heraldry. So these 7 families here protect each other, you see what I mean? You've got the main one in the middle, and then the 3 families on the right and on the left protect the main family here, do you see what I mean? And that's how they work, you know. But sometimes they fall out, you know, and then wars start, and that's what happens. But Hitler went for it, you know, him and his families, they went for it, because if they would have done it and controlled it and got it, you know, each and every family, yeah, but obviously you had half the other side go, no, we're not having that, and that's how wars start, you know what I mean? These people fight for their land, for their oil and their gold and their wealth, do you know what I mean? But Hitler went for it and obviously lost. Again, notice the three stripes in the background again, because it's 3, you see what I mean? It's always Masonic, always Freemasonry, you know. I've shown you how the swastika is 9 steps in Masonry, yeah, and it's squares, like there's squares, look, when you square it off, and it's in a circle, you see, squares and circles. And that's back in there, see, and that's what it is. It's all Masonic wars, you see. And again, here we go, look. See, emblem of the Nazi Party of Germany, yeah? So this is the Nazi Party of Germany. And what do we see? Heraldy, look, of the families that went for it to conquer the world, you see what I mean? And other families joined these families, yeah, and got the privileges, you know, of like, you know, join us, and then when we invade, you can keep your shops, you can keep your properties, you can keep your land, but you will put anyone who's not on our side, you will betray them, you will put them on the trains, and you will point them out, those who will betray us or are against us, and you will wear the forget-me-not badge, so we know that you're on our side. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it is, and that's all to do with families, you know. Nothing's changed, nothing's given up. The families still rule the town, still rule the, you know. These Gypsy G travellers have a lot to answer for, do you know what I mean? But that's another story. But yeah, this is what it's all about, look. You know, these families fighting each other, and obviously Hitler's right in the middle, and he go, right, all these families are backing me up, and here we go, it's a Game of Thrones, we're now going to try and take over the world. And the other families that are across the world go, no, we're not having that, we're going to fight you. And that's what happened, and that's all it was. And then you got World War One and World War Two. Again, look, here's the families, look, yeah, this is a postcard, this is, But again, notice the 3 dots, look. See the 3 circles, look? Make a square. See? But again, you can see the families, yeah, of the rulers. Do you know what I mean? And by the way, there's a reason it's going 6, 5, 6, because if you know the symbolism I've already shown you, when you mark it off, yeah, it gives you that 666. But again, you can see the Swazi in the square. Look, you see it's on the square. You see, and each family is each supporting or representing other families. Do you see what I mean? And that's all it is. These families all went to war. You know, it's to do with the heraldry of it. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there it is. Look, and that's what that flag is here. This flag here, yeah, or this postcard, yeah, of 1939, yeah, with the family heraldies on it. This is what it is. Look, it shows or resembles a symbol that was used by the National Socialist Party, the Nazi government of Germany, or an organisation closely associated to it, or another party which has been banned by the Federal Constitutional Court of Germany. See, they've all been banned now, of course, but at the end of the day, that was a thing. Do you see what I mean? Because it showed what families were loyal and true to Hitler. You know what I mean? Obviously, you can see the pyramid, look. Yeah, obviously the Knights Templars, you know, the crosses and the eagles. You can see that the St George's cross. Do you know what I mean? The bloody the moons, look, the moons. You know, it's all Masonic. Everything to do with it is Masonic. You know, all of it. And that's what you're dealing with, my profane friends. And again, look, this is the actual flag, and you can see the square, you can see the circle. I've shown you the pyramids, of course, which is the 4 pyramids in the corner. But that's what that is. Do you know what I mean? And again, it's pure Masonic, the 9 steps in Masonry. You see? And again, these are the war things in war. Look, these are called dragon's teeth, yeah? And they put these down to stop tanks. But why are they pyramids? You know what I mean? You see? So these pyramids, and then you've got, oh, I forgot what these are called. These are tri-something now, these are called, yeah? But again, can you see that, again, it's the configuration when you're on the battlefield of that square and calm piss, look, you see? And that's what it's about, you see? They have their own, you see the square and calm piss? You see what I mean? So you run across that field, subconsciously going shit, you know what I mean, we're getting killed and back, but the last thing you see is that square and calm piss, and they're taking your energy through these shapes, do you know what I mean, or whatever they do. I don't know what they do. Again, they use Masonic cubes, look, the cubes of Saturn. See, more these are dragon's teeth as well, but they do them in Masonic blocks as well, like cubes, the perfect ashlars. But that's what I say, they use their own shit. They're using pyramids, they're using Masonic cubes, you know what I mean? It's there in war. Look, this is all still laid out in you know, across the coastline of where they invaded Europe. Do you know what I mean? All these Masonic cubes and pyramids. Look, you see, someone's turned these ones into a set of dice. You know what I mean? But that's you know, that's what you're dealing with. Look, there's the bunker, look, but they put the Masonic cubes in. And there's Ukraine, and they're using them today, look, the pyramids, look, you see? Because it's still the same Freemasons that's still at war and vying for power. They just don't wear their aprons, do you see what I mean? When they're manipulating all this shit. See? And there's your obelisks, again, more tank stoppers. But you can see the obelisks, look. See? It's not, you know, what, everything is Masonic. And then you have these ones, which are the Masonic cubes with pyramids on top. Do you see what I mean? You know, just an added, you know, another thing, you know, and is Churchill himself walking amongst them. But these ain't got the capstones on, look, you see? These ones. But there they all are. Look, they're all Freemasons. Each and every one of them is a Freemason. You know what I mean? You know. And again, here's the Auschwitz cross, right? Obviously, for the people at the Auschwitz. But again, you see the down pyramid. Look, you can see the points within the circle. Look, you see the points within the circle, and then on each side you've got Jachin and Boaz. Look, Jachin and Boaz on each side, the point within the circle. See, it's not on this side. Look at the barbed wire, only at the bottom, because it's as above so below. And you know what they are, don't you? This is in 1939, by the way. And you see the barbed wire, look, where you've got square and compass there. Let me get my little drawing. This is amazing, I'll tell you. Let me see if I can do this. See, and you've only got, see, it's when you learn it and you know it, yeah. I mean, look, if you put these two pieces together, yeah, what are you getting? Look, oh wait there, let me just shrink that down a bit. You know what I'm getting at, don't you, my profane friends? Yeah. You see what I mean? And this is what you're getting. Do you see what I mean? And then if you look below, oh, I don't know how to move that thing. Here, look, you've got 3 X's. Look. Oh, see here, look. Oh. Here you've got 3 X's. 1X, 2X, 3 X's. You see? And look at this. You ain't going to believe it, my profane friends. Obviously, you've got the down pyramid, yeah, and you've got the cross. But can you see it? Look, this is Tubal Cain. Look, you see? Tubal Cain goes all the way down here. You see? And these are the 2 balls. Look, Tubal Cain. 2 balls Cain. You see? Are you getting that, my profane friends? See? Look it up. And then you've got the colours of Freemasonry, of course, the blue and the white, yeah? You know what I mean? Again, but that's what that is, look. And that's, that, you know, that there, apart from being the point within, you know, this here is the point within the circle, yeah? These are 2 balls, yeah? And these here, these are the canes, yeah? 2 ball cane, yeah? I hope you get that, my profane friends. But like I said, you know, you got the 3 X's, XXX. You got the 3 X's there, and then the rest make the square and the compass. These 2 at the bottom, yeah, these 2 at the bottom. Oh, better do it again. I like doing it anyway. So what the hell, baby? You just enlarge it a little bit. So this one here, look, but this with the X, yeah, when you go like this, X, and then X, yeah, that puts the all-seeing eye in the middle of the square and the compass, yeah. But people don't see it, you know, but they know it. They know exactly what they do. A Freemason know it. This is the cane, and this is the cane, yeah. Okay, and these are the 2 balls. 2 ball cane. Look it up, my profane friends. Look at 2 ball cane, you know. That's what that is. Unreal, isn't it? How they get away with it. Now, what do we have here? Now, we have a lot of Freemasons. You'll see that in a lot of Freemason, you know, the pictures I've just shown you. But here we have the man himself, yeah? Okay. Now, watch this. Again, I've shown you. Oh, right there. Right there, my profane friends. Again, look, you've got the pyramid, okay, like that. You see, that's your 4 pyramids, right, on that. And obviously, it's a square within a circle, all right, and then you've got your square within the circle, yeah, okay. But the real kicker, if I just go back a minute, is this. Watch. What is that Masonic cube? See? So we've got the Masonic cube there, right? You can see the Masonic cube quite plainly. You see Hitler? Oh, Hitler? I think that's Hitler. On the Masonic cube, right? And then obviously you've got the circle within the square, blah, blah. The square within the circle and the circle within the square on a Masonic cube. And then right in the background, you've got the sun hieroglyph, look, you see? Same thing, square within a circle, and a circle within a circle. And then you've got all these Masonic knights in the background. Oh, how did I do that? I don't even know how I did that. Let me just get that back. You You see, look, you got all his Knights Templars in the background and his Freemasons, yeah. But why is he's talking from a Masonic cublet of Saturn? See? And he's got all his little echelons down the bottom here. Look, you see him? Look. See? Look at that. What a Masonic army indeed. So you've got the sun hieroglyph, because that's what that is, the son of Ra, and the Masonic cube. You know what I mean? You know, like I said, it's all Masonic war, my profane friends. Again, look, we've got the three flags. We know because 3 circles, look, 3 circles make a square. We've got 3 squares, yeah, which are 3 cubes with 6 sides, so it's 6, 6, 6. You see what I mean, my profane friends? Then you've got all these Freemasons, look, all here. But that's why there's 3, you see? 3 circles make a square, you see? And then you've got 3 squares. You see what I mean? 3 square meals a day these people are on. How wonderful. But like I said, you know, remember when they started these wars, the people that rounded up the people to get them on the carts and put them into the ghettos were the actual people that were your best friends, you know, who came into your shops, who were your friends. But people turned it around, you know what I mean, and ostracised them and turned around. And then other people got involved because they went, oh, I better do what they're doing, because if not, I wouldn't look part of the crowd. And I might be treated that way, so I better do that. Do you see what I mean? But the main people that enforced that were the police, were the town officials, the Lord Mayor, and all of them sort of people. Do you see what I mean? And you're trusting these people yet again within your society, within your communities, to look after you, and that you think they got your best interest at heart. They haven't. Do you know what I mean? Because they're the ones that are going to round you up, shoot you, put you against the wall, and do whatever the elites say, because they're scared that they're going to be treated the same way. Do you see what I mean? But that's what that is. Look, 3 circles make a square. You can see the 3 squares that make a cube anyway, and 3 cubes are 6, 6, 6. Do you see what I mean? That's why there's 3 flags. Why not 4? Why not 5? Why not 6? Because it doesn't compute with Freemasonry. You see? So like I said, Germans are just as prevalent as the rest. Now, here's an interesting one here. What do you see? Well, so what I see, again, it's German, okay? Silly Germans, little Freemasons, but see how they've got the nurses. So when the nurses go together, and I've shown you this in the war, when they do that with the redcoats, do you see what I mean? You're getting that square and calm peace. Do you see what I mean? Because that symbolism is there all over the place. And that's what that is, you see. That's why the nurses have got that. You see what I mean? So when they stand there, without beknown to them, they don't know. They ain't got a bloody clue. But the Freemasons know exactly what it means. You know what I mean? Them little German Freemasons know exactly what it is. Think about it. Now, what else can you see there? What is another magic number of Freemasonry? Yeah, here we go. Look, I'll show you. Watch this, my profane friends. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 flags. Now, I ain't got to explain what 13 is to any of you, I don't think, especially those who know what 13 represents in Freemasonry and everything else in symbolism. And again, you've got the eagle, blah, blah, blah. And again, if you look, he'll be standing on a Masonic cube. You know what I mean? But there's 13 flags. Do you see what I mean? Because again, 13 represents Freemasonry. You see what I mean? They can't help themselves, my profane friends. Their symbolism knows no bounds in all wars. Now, this is Auschwitz, I believe. So you imagine them walking around every day, seeing that square and calm peace as the Germans patrolled in their little huts. But this is Auschwitz, all right? And like I said, this is the point. The symbolism is there. Do you know what I mean? In everything to do with the German war, yeah? Okay. But there it is, look, the square and calm piss. And here's the gates of it, look, you see the gates, look, the square and calm piss, yeah? Oh, there's plenty more, don't worry, I'm getting to it. Notice the windows, look, 6, 6, 6, and with a pyramid on top. And this is, which one is this? This is Albert Mac Frey. I don't know where that is. But again, can you see the keystone? Look, that's the keystone. Yeah, that big stone there is a keystone. It's called a keystone of Freemasonry, yeah? But as you're going in, you're seeing the 6 windows, 6 windows, 6 windows, 6, 6, 6, and with a big pyramid on top. This is all to do with Germany, my profane friends. Nothing to do with me. What do you see? What do you see? Can you see it, my profane friends? Let me get my little pen out to show you the symbolism of the gates, okay? You know me, I don't like to brag. The Freemasons do that for me. Can you see it? Look, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Huh? How come it's 3, 2, 3? Oh, I know, I just sussed it. Have you? Come along, everybody, let's all try. Right, let me do it again. How about this? Look, if I do it this way. You see what I mean, my profane friends? And that's what that is. You know what I mean? Because if I change the colour, I'll put it to yellow. Because it's 1 point in masonry, 2 point in masonry, 3 point in masonry, 4 point in masonry, 5 point in masonry, 6 points in masonry. But we know when they cross and you square it off, you then get 3, 2, 3. You see what I mean, my profane friends? And the same goes for this one. Look, 3, 2, 3. You see what I mean? And this is what I'm saying, my profane friends. Again, it's the square and calm piss. And that's what it's all about, my profane friends. Do you see what I mean? Their symbolism knows no bounds, even in Ablet Mac Frey, which is another concentration camp. You see what I mean? And this is what it's all about, you know what I mean? Their symbolism knows no bounds in all things, yeah? Again, here's the entrance to, and I can't remember what camp it is, but again, we're seeing the sun hieroglyph, right, which is that going all over that. Yeah, you got the keystone at the top, look. That's what that little ridge is there, look. That's a keystone of Freemasonry, right? Okay, so remember, this is all being built by Freemasons, okay? And again, what do you see? What do you see, my profane friends? Can you see the point within the circle? Can you see the circle within the square? And then as you come out, it's a square within a square. But the point is within the squares, yeah? And that's what that is. But what that is 2 diamonds. And what's 2 diamonds? I've already shown you, haven't I, my profane friends? I don't have to show you again. But anyway, there you go. That's Masonic again, and obviously you've got the square within the circle above on the keystone with the Masonic eagle, blah blah blah. But these are the gates to go into your death camps. But there it is, look, you see, point within a circle, the circle within the square. You know what I mean? And they certainly ain't opening no fucking doors, are they? You know what I mean? Where's the, you know, the door, do you see what I mean? What is the point of that symbolism? You see? There isn't. It just advertises that this is Masonically owned by Freemasons. That's what that does. And again, here's another one, yeah, by the Germans, yeah. First of all, can you see it, my profane friends? Let me get my little drawer now. And again, because the symbolism, you can see the square and the compass right here, okay? Square and compass on the gate, but can you see the world domination balls? You see what I mean? And don't forget, they built these camps. Who built these camps? The Freemasons, you see what I mean? But unless you know it or see it or understand what a world domination ball is, and that the square and calm piss is in everything, and who built it, do you know what I mean? And it'll happen again. And these are your Freemasons. That's a Knights Templar. That's a Freemason right there. He's just not wearing his Masonic garb. You know what I mean? But there's your world domination ball right on top, look. Going right into the gates, and they're going to get away with it and do it again. Discarding their blame it on anyone and anything. Do you know what I mean? We're seeing that one. Again, can you see the pyramid? That see the pyramid in the background. But yeah, that's what you're dealing with, my profane friends. Again, Germans, okay. And what we got on this gate? Oh, sorry, hit the wrong button. What do we see on top? The pyramids, look. You see the pyramids? And then you got the pyramids with the SS in the middle, look, yeah. And then you got the pyramid on the Jachin and Boaz, and then where you got the configuration of the square and calm pierce all over the gate, look. You see? They can't help, they're putting their symbolism on it. You know what I mean? They have to put their symbolism on it. And here's another, that's not that set of gates, this is another set of gates, look. Yeah, another German establishment. But again, see the pyramids, look, and 3 logs, look, 3 logs, see, look, 3, 1, 2, 3, with the pyramid on top. Obviously you got a pyramid there. I wonder what that pyramid was for. Is there any purpose to that? No, but it shows that Freemasonry built that. Do you see what I mean? And again, 3 logs with a pyramid on top. You tell me that ain't Masonic. And these, again, the gates Masonically thingy. But can you see the square and calm pisslet on the gates? Look, see when they shut it. Look, see it. Look. On the background there. Look, the 2 gates. So when you shut it, you get the square and calm piss. So all these people that were encamped in these, yeah. Oh, we saw the pyramids, the 3 columns, yeah, and the square and the calm piss and the pyramids. But what's that pyramid doing? I suppose that's there to keep the rain off the sign, isn't it? You see what I mean? Crazy, isn't it? And like I said, this is what I'm saying, they're all Masonic wars, my profane friends. Yeah, Strafengerlenga. There you go again, look, pyramids, configuration of the square and calm piss. But this is their gulags, or concentration camps, should I say. Again, look, I ain't got to show you, I can't get close enough, but you can see the gates again with the diamond shapes, look, the 2 diamonds, and then you got the point within the square right in the center, and obviously they've got the cross, the 4 pyramids above the door, look, as you go through. Okay, and again, if I must point it out, if people don't understand it, if you look at the 3 windows, each window has 3, 3, 6, 9, 9 as above, so below. You see what I mean? But it's 4 square, you see. But there you go. It's crazy. Masonic symbolism all over these things. See the windows on the left here, look, 6, 6, and the other one's 6, yeah. Then you got 3 on here, look. Then you've got 3, 3, 3, which give you a Masonic 9 again. Then you got your 3 on this side, yeah. As we go up, yeah. See the windows, look, 6, 6, 6. You see what I mean? And then what do we got at the top here? Oh, we've got a circle within the square. You see? On top of a pyramid, of course. The pyramid on top of the square is on top of the pyramid, and then that square has a circle in it, yeah. Oh baby, and it points to the 3, the big hand. But anyway, no, I'm joking about that bit. But you can see it. Look, the windows. Look, 6, 6, 6. See, 6, 6, 6. 3 windows, 3 windows, 3 windows, 3 windows, which is obviously the 9 for Masonic. And then you got 3 on this side, and then each window above, look, 6, 6, 6, with the pyramid, with the block, which is their perfect ashlar with the circle on it. You see what I mean? They can't help themselves. And then if you look at the gate, again, the Masonic square and calm piss. I'm not going to show you this gate, yeah, and the symbolism of that, but there it is, look, the 6. You see what I mean? Oh, They changed the windows there, my profane friends. They must be new ones. But there you go, what do I know? And here's the gate here, look. And again, as you can see the configuration. But can you see it, look, my profane friends? Just showing it a little bit about there, I reckon. Can you see the gate, look? These gates actually got stolen, I believe. 1 square and calm piss, yeah? So that's 6, okay? 2 square and calm piss, so that's 6, 6, 6. And the final one, 6, 6, 6, 6, as you walk into Arbalete Macfrey, you know what I mean? And that's the gates, my profane friends. Do you see what I mean? The square and calm piss 3 times, yeah? Which, again, if you notice, okay, and I don't know if people know it or not, it's 4 square twice, yeah? So always look out for the 4 square twice, because you're dealing with big danger, man. So you look, there's your square, yeah? And there's your 4 square, yeah? Okay, that's once, all right? And I'll change the colour. And I'll show you the other 4 square. And then you've got the 4 square here, look, which is this. Okay, so watch for this, because I think that's dangerous, I do. When you see this, be very worried. You know what I mean? Because that's what that is. That's 4 square twice. Do you know what I mean? Crazy, crazy, crazy. You know what I mean? But that's what it is. And like I said, it... And if you notice what I mean by that, yeah, again, if I just change the colour and show you, what colour should I use? I'll use dark blue, okay? And what by that I mean this, look, you see, 2, 3, 2, you see what I mean? Which we know gives us what? Come on, my profane friends, you know, which gives us our Masonic cube of Saturn. Do you see what I mean? But that's what that is, you see. I'll just like colour it in a little bit more, just so it's a bit more seeable. But that's what that is, you see, the Masonic cube of Saturn, you see, on the gate. Do you see what I mean? More Masonic symbolism. Do you see what I mean? And that's what it's all about, my profane friends, you know. And yeah, I don't know, it's just like, wow, you know what I mean, my profane friends. And you know, like I said, from this Masonic cube, as you know, it goes into the, you know, the 9 steps, which then gives you the Swazi and all the rest of it. But that's what that is, my profane friends, you know. That's the Masonic cube right there. Do you know what I mean? Again, their symbolism is hidden in plain right again. But if you don't know it or you don't see it, you can't understand it. But that's what that is. You see what I mean? There you go, my profane friends. Remember, when you see that 232 anywhere, it's a Masonic cube of Saturn. You know what I mean? And like I said, these gates, you've got the 3 times the square and compass, which are the 6 points, which then give you the 666 of Lucifer. And that's what these places were, weren't they, really? Again, look, there's your skull and bones of Freemasonry on the black and white board. And then what you got in the background, look, you see the 3 windows? Each window is 6, 6, 6. And then above that, obviously, there's 3 windows of 6, 6, 6, yeah? And then above that, you've got a pyramid, look, you see? On top of a pyramid. You see, they can't help themselves. Again, look, here we are, my profane friends. Look, can you see it, look? Oh, baby. Can you see it? The symbolism, look. You see it? See? On each post, look. You see it? Look? I don't know what the symbolism of it is. Someone could tell me, please. But again, can you see it? The square and the calm piss on the gate, look. You see it? Square and calm piss. So every profane person that went through these gates, yeah, that got tortured, the last thing they see was a Masonic square and calm piss on the gate, because that's what ran it. You know what I mean? The Freemasons run these camps. Again, you can see it, look, the square and the calm piss. You see what I mean? They run it, mate. They can't help putting their symbolism on it. And that, my profane friends, was the last picture, I believe. There's plenty more I could have shown you. You can go search up your own, you know what I mean? But like I said, this is what, you know, this is what you're dealing with, you know, these camps, you know, that it's all the same, 3, 6, 9s. Do you know what I mean? That it's, you know, they're, what are these camps called? I can't remember, like Auschwitz and all that, you know. That's what that is, I think. I think that's Auschwitz, this one. But don't quote me on that, you know what I mean? But, you know, you can see the square and calm piss. So everything was always square and calm. Even going through them gates, you know, these gates here, the square and calm piss is 3 times. So it's 6, 6, 6. And obviously I'll show you that it's 2, 3, 2, which then makes the Masonic cube, you know what I mean? So that's done by design and on purpose. You know, that's not a fluke. It's done by the Freakmasons, you know. And like I said, it's all basically boils down to the heraldry, you know, of the families, what I've shown you in my other videos. Do you know what I mean? The families that fight and still fight today, but they're learning to get on a little bit better, I think, you know. So there you go, my profane friends. Again, if I go like these come from Portuguese, yeah. Look, all of these come from. Look at the floor, look. You see, it's in Portugal. Look, do you know what that is, don't you? Can you see the square on the square? Look, it's a square on a square. Okay. Let me show you. I better show you, ain't I? I'll do it in blue. Hey, make a change, doesn't it? So like, here's a square. Oh, I need to thin that out a bit. Go back there. Right, so we'll go like that. See, there's your one square. Right, I'll change the colour. I'll do it yellow. And the other square is here. Look. See, so you got square with on a square. You know what I mean? Obviously, you got your normal, you know, square and compass like this. Your normal square and compass and all the other shit. But that's just a Masonic floor, okay? Then you got the Masonic floor here. I shouldn't need to explain any of this neither, because again, it's the same configurations, yeah. You know what I mean? It's circles, squares, and pyramids, yeah. Do you see it? Like that. Let me just draw one in. I'll do one for you, just to show you, my profane friends. See here, look. There's your cross, look. Okay, there's your cross. There's your cross. Okay, and this is your all-seeing eye. You see what I mean? But that's just, you know, that's just. I've been up all night. Can you imagine that? Oh, baby. But again, this is, look. You see the 4 circles, look. 4 circles, yeah. But when you put the cross through them, it makes 4 square. You see? Right. Let's move on a little bit. Discard. Again, can you see it? Look, the same thing. Look, all up on the ceilings. Look, you find it everywhere. Look, see? And I think, like in the corners, this here, that reminds me of, you know, Satan. You know what I mean? The configuration of it. But whether it is or not, I don't know. But when you cross this across the cross, yeah, on the square, you're ending up with 4 square. You see what I mean? Nothing changes. See, it's all over the floors. Look, you see the 9. Look, there's your 9. Look, and also it's 2, 3, 2. Look, you see, it's 2, 3, 2, but it's 9 of them. You see, 9, which give you the 6. You see what I mean? It's all the same symbolism, my profane friends. Nothing changes. Again, look, you can see it. I don't need to say anything. This is a shop. Look, you see. See, the shop's owned by Freakmasons. Again, same configuration. Cool. That's a bit of a tough one for you, isn't it? But can you see the pyramid? Look, with the capstone on top. Look, that's just for the starters, all right? Yeah. See the pyramids, but then you can see the square and the compass. Look. Can you see it? Look. The square and compass. Oh, I better draw it in. Some people can't see this. It's amazing. I get messages all the time. Well, I can't see it. I can't see it. You know, and you can't, because they've trained you not to see it, because you're profane. There it is. Look, there's the square and the compass, right? That's the square. There's your compass, right? Yeah. There's your square and compass. Then you've got your pyramid. with your capstone right here, you see? And then this squares across there, so that gives that, like I said, some things you have to put together, do you know what I mean? And then obviously you got 2 pyramids here, look, you see? See, so it's pyramids, diamonds, and again, oh yeah, I could go off that, but I won't anyways. But that's how it goes, you know what I mean? That's what that is there. You know what I mean? That's just pure square and calm piss. But again, and don't quote me on this, but can you see the writing in it? Okay, let me show you. A T A N. See that? So, and this, and don't quote me on this, is this supposed to represent an S? Which then gives you Satan. Do you see it, look? Don't quote me on that, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't know everything, but you know, that's again, it's, you know, does that look like to you like Satan? It fucking does to me. Satan, Satan, Satan. And they're obviously with the square and the calm piss. But anyway, oh, I saved it. Anyway, let's go. Right, so we're still in Portugal, okay? Can you see the, obviously you can see the, see, like I said, depending on where you're from, yeah, like here, you know, it's a lot of black and white tile floors and blue and white tile floors, but they have tan. But here you can see the yellow and black, because again, you've got different families in Portugal that do their own, you know, their own thing and their own rituals, yeah. But again, you can see the sun hieroglyph, the circle within the square, look, you see, and with the Masonic flooring. So it's a circle with the square, with it, a circle, a sun hieroglyph, which is a circle, and a circle within the square, look, you see. So nothing changes, you know what I mean? And then we've got the black and white tile floor this side, look, it's just a Masonic floor, look, you see. They can't help themselves, you know, and the shops are all owned. Here we go, look, world domination balls, look, you see, with pyramids, which will just show you the same as in Arch Switch, but keep that quiet. You see, world domination balls, again, look, you see it, my profane friends, the configuration on the bottom, and then you've got 3 windows and 3 at the bottom, 6, see, can't help themselves. They're silly little Freakmasons. Again, look, you see the 3 X's, look, X, X, X. I don't need to tell you what 3 X's mean. You see what I mean? But again, you see the square and compass once, square and compass twice, and then 2, 3, 2 in the middle. So it's 6, 6, 6. Again, owned by Freakmasons. You know, look, buy me property. Guaranteed as Freakmasons that own it and are selling it and doing all the bollocks. Do you know what I mean? Again, the windows, look, 2, 4, 6. Do you see what I mean? 3 levels. Oh, baby. Again, look, Freakmasonry. You can see the pyramids. I don't need to explain it. You can see the configuration, look, of the square and the calm piss. It's crazy, isn't it? And this is Portugal, my profane friends. Again, do I need to say anything? You know what I mean? Built into the very fabric of everybody's lives. And then you got the pyramid, of course, the major one. But that's what this is what you're dealing with. Built into everything. Look. See? Pyramids on blocks, yeah? Remember the blocks during the war? What I just show you? They had the cube with the pyramid on top, same thing. Look, see the pyramids on top of the roofs here, look. See it, look, pyramids, pyramids, pyramids. Where are we? Are we this in Portugal? Surely. You know what I mean? This got to be Greece, isn't it? You see it, look, the sun hieroglyph, look. You see? And there's your pyramid there, look, and your square within a point within a square, look. You see? See it, look? And then you got the square and compass that run all the way up in these little little flowers. I call them flowers. You know what I mean? But they can't help themselves. Again, look, the same configuration. Cubes with pyramids on top. Again, nothing Masonic here. Do you see what I mean? It's in everything, my profane friends. Everything. See the pyramids at the bottom there, look, by the way? Ooh, I keep messing up here. What's going on? What's going on? But again, look, there's a lot of... Let's keep jumping. I don't know why. A lot of blocks with pyramids, look. So again, what are all these pyramids about? You know what I mean? And we're now in Portugal. You see what I mean? Oh no, not again. 3 X's. Why was that always 3 X's? I can't remember. Well, I hope you do, because I told you. Let me show you. Just for those who don't know, of course, yeah? Obviously, most of you know. So, 3 X's, okay? Remember, square and calm piss, 6 points. That's 6, yeah? So that's 1. Ooh, so that's 1 6. 2 6s, yeah? Well, I keep doing that because I know it's going to knock it out. So we've got 2 6s so far with 2 square and calm piss, and then in the middle it's 2 3 2, what makes the Masonic cube, yeah, which if I draw it in and then go, how many sides has a cube got? 6 6 6 6. And don't forget, each X represents 10, so 10 10 10. You discard the noughts for some reason. 1 1 1 adds up to 3. See what I mean, my profane friends? But anyway, there we go again. Once again, we're seeing that X, 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 which represents shh. And of course, you can see it 3 times, look, on each block, look, 1 2 3, look. See? Consistent little buggers, isn't they? And again, let's have a look in the background here. Let's see what we've got. Just plenty of X's. Oh, baby. See what I mean? It's built in. Oop. I'm yawning here. Been up most of the bloody night. Again. Oh. I don't know what I did there. But again, can you see the diamonds? Look. Making the square and the calm piss. And again, you can see the square and calm piss built right in, again, into the fabrication of what's been built, because the Freakmasons own it. Again, you see the pyramids, look, 3 on each door, so it's 33 degrees, and because it's pyramids, it's 6 6 6. Do you know what I mean? Stick the 2 together. I should be just getting up now. I've been bloody up already, though. Don't forget, when you stick, look, X, 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 you see, and that's X, 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 you see, 3 X's. I've just shown you what that represents, yeah, but if you just stick them together this way, if I put that X with that X, that's what you end up with. Square and calm piss, square and calm piss, and square and calm piss. So it's 6 6 6, you see what I mean? And they're all points within the square. See what I mean? It's amazing, isn't it? Please note as well that each bolt, that you see the bolts, look, 3 3 3. Do you see what I mean? Consistent buggers, isn't they? Hey, see, always the 3. See, again, here we are. Don't know what this building is, but you can see the pyramid at the top. You can see the obelisk with the world domination ball on top, and then you got your pedo swells, look, you see? Wonderful. How them Freakmasons are consistent, you know? See it? On the gates, look. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see the square and calm piss, look? Move it across there, you see it on that one as well, that square and calm piss. Then you got the arch of Freakmasonry. But the world domination ball again. Again, square and calm piss configuration. Let's go to the top. See the X's, look, X within squares, which are 4 pyramids, don't forget. 4 pyramids, look, you know what I mean? That's what they are, 4 pyramids, 4 square. Again, see it? one square. Look, you see the circle? Look, within the... See, it's 4 pyramids, obviously, and then it's a circle within the square. Point within the square, you see? 1 square and calm piss, 2 square and calm piss, 3 square and calm piss. See? Wonderful stuff. Again, 3 levels. Look, 1, 2, 3, 9 total. See what I mean? Oh, they love it. You can see the Masonic arches. Again, more configuration. The square and calm piss. They've been kind enough to put the dots in. Look, you see it? Look, circles with points in. Look, the points within the circle. And you come out a little bit. Look, and they make the configuration. Let me just draw it, my profane friend. I'll draw it for you. You know what I mean? But this is what you're dealing with. Look, you see? See it, my profane friends? Can you see it? That depends on which way I want to go and decide to do it. I'll go this way. Boom, 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 boom. Masonic cubes, my profane friends. It's also the square and calm piss. You see? So you're basically looking at the 6, 6, 6, 6, 6 all over that. And anywhere else you see it. Again, see the square and calm piss built into the scrolls, but they hide it. See what I mean? They hide it in plain right. Look at it. Again, see the 3 diamonds, look? They know what they're doing, my profane friends. See, the 3 diamonds represents the 3 circles. You see, 3 circles make a square. Now they're saying 3 squares make a circle. Do you know what I mean? Which it does. By the way, if you draw, that's what it's about, you see. And then again, you can see it here, look. You see the circles, the square and the calm piss, look, with 2 circles, but there should be 3 because you put another circle in there, see. But it's points within the circle, look. And then you obviously, don't forget, you got 4 pyramids, you know, and you got the square. You see the square, look, what they've done. Clever little buggers. Let me draw it for you because I'm good like that. Right. Like this, look. Let me just show you. See, 3 circles. So if I draw a circle in here, yeah, on the points, look, that's what makes the square, yeah. And they've drawn the square in, look. There's the square, you see. So instead of 3 circles, they've done it like this. You see, 2 circles and a square, which is the same thing, which is square and calm piss. Obviously, there's 4 pyramids. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4 pyramids, yeah. And there's your point within the circle. That you see, point within the circle, and then obviously you got your square and calm piss. And I'm more than likely, obviously you got your 4 pyramids that way as well. That you see, if I go like that, then you can see your 4 pyramids. See what I mean? So yeah, very, very clever, these Freakmasons. Again, look at the windows. 6, 6, 6, 6. Do you see what I mean? Oh, baby. Oh, yeah, and the colour blue, obviously. But again, it's pure Masonic. So, can't beat it, can you? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Oh, what am I doing? That's what I see what I'm doing. Wait there. Oh, stop. Right, this one. There you go. See it, my profane friends? See the square and calm piss, look, on the blue at the top. And then when you come down, look, on the petals, look, you see it on the petals below that, you see? Can't help themselves. These little Freakmasons can't help putting their symbolism in everything. Can you see it? Even I can see that, look. The point within the circle, the square. And if this is a cinema, they've got you sitting in it. Then you see the pyramids, look. Was that pyramid there? Keep the rain off the 3 windows. You see what I mean? And then at the top, look. Can you see it, look? The obelisks with the world domination balls. See, owned by Freakmasons. No one, the profane will never own it. See them little pyramids, look. 1 pyramid, 2 pyramid, 3 pyramid. Right on top of the roof, look. You see it, look. Right on top of the roof. See them little obelisks, look. See, all Masonic, each window, look, 2, 4, 6 windows, look, 2, 4, 6. See what I mean? 3 windows, 3 windows. Oh, baby. How wonderful. But you can see it, look. You see what I mean? The pyramids. Crazy, crazy how they get away with it. Oh, and by the look of things here, look. You see it, look? Look at this, look. You see the square and the circle here, look, on the floor? This whole thing here is this here, right here, look. That's a circle within a circle, look. Yeah? Look. Within a square. See that? How they've done that? Little peasants. Anyway, what's on that door there? Let's have a look. Oh God, I don't understand that. But there you go, that Masonic building there. Do you think the Profane will ever own that? Or do you think that, like this building, for instance? I mean, look at the pyramids. You see the circles, look, with the points in? See the obelisk, look? See the circles, look? Let's put that one, look. See, 3 stripes with the circle, look. You see? And you've got them up the top here as well, look. You see? Circles within the obelisk. There's your pyramid. Nothing Masonic, I know. But it's an empty building. They keep that empty on purpose. You know what I mean? Again, same window configurations, look. See? 3 windows, 3 windows, 3 windows. Look at the rails. Look at that. Look at the symbolism there. Do you see the square and compass, look? How they've softened it, look. On the top and the bottom. Obviously, you can see it in the... Oh, it's like, let me draw up my profane friends, just because some people just can't see it, and I get all these, you know, I do get them, and they go, well, I can't see it. So let me draw just the one in here. Look. So that is a square and compass, but they've softened it off. Yeah, that's a square and compass right there. Yeah. Then you've got one here, look, which is here. Yeah. If you see it, so you've got one there. So that's. You see what I mean? And you've got one here, look, one here, square and compass, and then obviously again they've softened it off, look, they just rounded it, but they're square and compass. Then you've got it here, look, the square and compass here, look, goes all the way across there, look, you see? These are all square and compass. Same as here, look, square and compass. See? Obviously, this is the all-seeing eye. That's the all-seeing eye, look, you see? And then you've got your X here, look, and you've got your X here, see? Oh, my profane friends. And you can see the point within the circle anyway. You know what I mean? But that's the symbolism of it all, my profane friends. Oh, it's a McDonald's. What a surprise. Discard. But this is all in Portugal. Again, look. You know, I ain't got to explain that, surely, to anyone. You know what I mean? And I certainly haven't got to explain that. I think that's a forget-me-not, yeah, flower. But again, you can see the circle within the circle, yeah? And then all of these are circles on the outside. 2, 4, 6 of them, look, you see? Silly little Freemasons. And again, I think that's a circle. Look, the grass is a circle with the point. You see what I mean? They've circled... You know, it's always circles anyway, you know, points within circles, you know what I mean. Again, look, you see the 3 windows, look, 3 windows, and then the windows themselves are 6, look. So it's 6, 6, 6. See what I mean? When they're little pyramids above, look, to keep the windows dry from the rain with their pyramids. But again, all these pyramids, look, see, another Masonic building. Do you think the Profane will ever own this building? No, that'll always be in the Freemasons' hands, and whoever gets or decides to be in it is up to them. Again, look, you see the squares within the squares, look, all built into the fabrication of the actual, you know, street. That's all Masonic, look. The whole lot of that is Masonic indeed. Crazy stuff. I can't get a closer look on them, but yeah, there they are. Look, you see that? Look at that. Whew. My God. The Freemasons, man. Portugal has some trouble in their council chambers. Again, look, you can see the square and the compass, the all-seeing eye, look. See what I mean? You can see it in there, look. Right there, look. You see it, look? And they put it, look, XXX. Let's just call it out, look. XXX, XXX. pure Masonic. You know what I mean, my profane friends? Unreal, isn't it? There it is again, look. You see it, look? Oh, baby. And the pyramids there, look. And see, look, they're just pyramids, points within the square, look. You see? Oh, 23, 2 3s are 6. Nah, but, you know, it's all madness, isn't it? Look at the floors, look. Mad, mad, mad. The door, look. Pure Masonic, look. See the circles, look. Points within the circle, look. It's almost like, see the Masonic cubes, look. See the cubes? How many is there? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And 10, which is XX, isn't it, my profane friends? That's Masonic, look. And that'll always be in Freemason hands. Look at that. See the square and compass, look. Huge square and compass, that one, look at it. It's massive, isn't it? Can you see it, how big that square and compass is? You know what I mean? Look, all the way up there it goes. Mad. Again, when you know these shops, they're all owned by Freemasons, but you can see it. Like, see this, see it. Look, the point within the circle, and then the circle within the square. Look, you see, and that's the ranking system of the shop. And then here, look, again, you see the X. Look, XX making the square and the compass. But again, it's hidden in plain right, you know. But there's the ranking of the shop, look, you see. The point within the circle and the circle within the square, look, you see. Because it's all Masonically owned. It'll always be in Freemasons' hands. See? Squares. See, another Masonic floor, look. It's just circles, squares, look. Points within circles. It's 5 circles, so it's 5 points actually. Hey, how'd you believe that? Again, look, you see it, look. Circles. Oh, baby. And pyramids. You know what I mean? Masonic indeed. Let's see what we got here. Oh, wonderful. Look at that. That's wonderful, isn't it? Look, you see the X's again? Look, X, X, X. Making that square and compass. Crazy. Goes on and on and on. I've shown this one, haven't I? But look, the configuration. Sun hieroglyph, look, for Ra. You know what I mean? Again, you see the pyramids. I've shown this one. Look, the pyramid within the square, look, you see? All Masonically owned. Profane people are never own this. Look, 3 circles, look, 1 circle, 2 circle, 3 circle, which makes a square. Again, underneath, look, see the 3 circles again, look, 1, 2, 3, points within circles, circles within squares, in the hieroglyph. And then right here, look, there's your world domination ball, look, you see, for the ranking of the shop. And the 3 pyramids at the top, don't forget. 1, 2, 3. See what I mean? Madness. Again, owned by Freemasons. You know, crazy. Again, I don't need to explain that. I'm pretty sure I don't have to explain that. None of it, to be honest. Again, Freemasons, look, see it, look, the configuration. all Masonic, look, owned by Freemasons, look. Oh yeah. Another one. See, now we're getting to the green and white, but again, look, you see the square and compass configuration hidden in plain right. Notice the arch, look, 3 on one side, 3 on that side, 3 on that side, 3 on that side, so it's just 6s, look, you see? Mad, isn't it? Masonically owned. Oh, and even the circle in the square again, look, and look at that. Look at the configuration of it, and you got your keystone on your arch, look. Amazing. Oh, Again, the pyramids up above, so below. Again, you see the 3 diamonds, look, you see? Can't help themselves. 3 windows with 3 diamonds. Wonderful. That's crazy, man. See it? Fleur de Pis, look. See it? Fleur de Pis. Again, get out of it. See the square and calm Pis, look, hidden in plain right. It's amazing, isn't it? How are they getting away with this? I don't know. Look, see the points within the square, look. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Portugal, look, you see? Pyramids again, look. 6 windows on either side. And here, what do we see here, look? See it? 2, 3, 2. 3, 2. See it? 2 windows, 3 windows, 2 windows. See? Silly Freakmasons. We know that makes the Masonic cube. So that's your other 6 maybe. You know what I mean? With the 3 pyramids above, look. And then you've got 6 windows that side, 6 windows this side. Nothing Masonic, I'm sure. Again, look. Points within the squares, look. You see? Or circles within the square. See the squares and compass, look. And the squares within the square. 3 of them again, of course. This is all Portugal. Again, look, square and compass on the door. Again, you see it, look. My profane friends, the keystones, look, of Freakmasonry on the arch, look, of Freakmasonry. And then you've got the configuration at the top for the square and the compass. Another building owned by Freakmasons that'll never be in the profane hands. See the X's, look. You see the square and compasses hidden in plain right. 3 pyramids, look. See, they just changed it. You know what I mean? Mad, isn't it? See it? How many windows, look? 3, 6. 3, 6. 3, 6. Amazing, isn't it? 3 of. Oh, I don't have to explain that one, do I? Or that one. Or that one. See it, look? 2, 3, 2, look. 2, 3, 2. Masonic cube indeed. See? 2, 3, 2. 2, 3, 2. But I don't have to explain it because it's there in plain right. And obviously it's square and compass, but same configuration, look. 2, 3, 2. Hidden in plain right. Again, I don't need to explain this. Or this. Look at the Masonic cubes on the floor. Crazy, look. See the keystone, look. See? All owned by Freakmasons for centuries and decades. Or do you think the Profane are going to own this building? Look at all them keystones above the window. That's before you get to the top, look. See the 3 X's, look. 1X, 2X, 3X. 1X, 2X, 3X. 1X, 2X. 3 times, you see? So it's 6, 6, 6 at the very top. Obviously, there's 3, 6, 9, 3 levels, 9 windows, look, or 3 doors and 9 windows, whatever you are bloody call it. That's Masonic. Another Masonic building, look, the Freakmasons, look. You see the circles, look, within the squares, look. You see the square within the circle, look. See, it's all Masonic. That's square and compass. What happened there? Oh. See, Masonic arch. See the squares, look. Oh, baby, with the 2 snakes, I think, you know, I don't know. Again, circles within circles, look. Silly Freemasons. Again, look, you see it there, look. The diamonds, you see the square and compass, yeah? In the centre, look. 3 times on the windows, look. 3 times. Oh, baby. See, there it is there again, look. You see, it's 5 points of Freakmasonry, look. Madness. Look, circles, yin and yang, obviously. Black and white, yin and yang. But it's circles, look, within squares, and 4 pyramids, look, each one. See? Mad. What's on the floor? And there, look. See? Nothing Masonic. You see what I mean? Owned by Freakmasonry. Controlled by Freakmasons, actually. It's all the way across there, look. Square and calm piss, look. See? Madness. Ooh. More configuration, look. You see it, look? Oh, baby. Pure Masonic indeed. Look, see the square and calm piss. Crazy, crazy, look. Masonic archers. Yep, there you go, look. Point within the square. 4 square indeed. Don't know who that is. Look at that. My God. Oh. Again, look. Square and calm piss. Masonic seagull. See? It's crazy. And that is it, my profane friends. Have a great day. Wonderful.